Today, we are going to be talking about how the recent Super Bowl was basically a huge, dystopian propaganda from every commercial that you really saw. But more specifically, we're going to focus in on the weight loss drugs, right? So major pharmaceutical companies spent millions on Super Bowl ads to normalize weight loss drugs, and that is frankly terrifying because they're marketing medication with serious side effects like it's a lifestyle choice or a consumer product, and the messaging is very, very slick. It can also be appealing, and frankly, it just targets people's insecurities while downplaying real health issues. And I'm using America's biggest entertainment stage to do it also. Not to mention all of the celebrities that they are using to push these drugs, which is furthering that flashy lifestyle. And even on one of the commercials, I remember seeing like the disclaimer, basically that these were celebrities acting as if they were patients. Like it's all dystopian, very dystopian, as I've said, but Big Pharma is openly marketing these shortcuts to bodies that we've been programmed to believe that we want, or believe that they are more deserving of protection and privileges overall. So these drugs have severe and underreported side effects, and other GLP-1 drugs cause, nausea, vomiting, severe severe gastroparesis, which is basically stomach paralysis. Also pancreatitis, increased risk for thyroid cancer, gallbladder issues, and extreme muscle loss along with fat. People are experiencing Ozempic face and body, aged appearances from the rapid weight loss. The long-term effects are unknown because these drugs haven't been around long enough to study, and people are essentially being used as the test subjects, while also the corporations are already getting that profit, so they're not having to wait for anything. But you definitely got to wait to see what the long-term effects of what this drug is going to do to you. This kind of reminds me, it very much reminds me of that time that they sold a very harmful narcotic, which has caused a whole crisis in America. They went around selling it to doctors, and then had the doctors selling it to you, the consumer. And even a lot of these same doctors who were selling it to you got hooked on this very strong drug. Let me know down in the comments if you know which one that is. But now I want to talk about the tier 2 system of bodies. So rich people get access to quick weight loss drugs, while poor people are left with the shame and the blame. So let me get this straight. The same society that created the food deserts, processed food addiction, and sedentary lifestyles now get to profit off of selling you the quote-unquote cure. This is very eugenics adjacent, deciding whose bodies are acceptable and selling access to that acceptability. And the wealthy get thin easily, while the working class, they struggle without the resources, creating even more visible class division just by visual body sizes, which is one of the first things that people can notice about you. And this normalization is happening at warp speed. Like I mentioned, celebrities are the one openly using these drugs and calling it health when it's simply aesthetics. And I've also heard, shout out to the Black Dot, but I've heard him say that the rich, quote unquote rich and elite people don't need people like the masses under control. They need the person who has a large portion of the masses, which is celebrities. They need them under control. So that's why they're falling in this hierarchy, getting them to sell this to you, because they know if they just present it to you in a way where they're just sending it out to the millions with how they did all those commercials back in the day with just regular people, and then you kind of skip by those. But if you see the allure of celebrity and seeing, oh well, I can achieve this body that I don't even want to say no names, or do I? Do I really want to shake the table and say Serena Williams' names? Because that is a woman who has had an amazing body and has been a woman that has been on my vision boards, probably a lot of other Black women's boards, for a beautiful and athletic body that we could achieve if we, worked towards it. But now she's also the same person who is using these drugs and promoting these drugs, and I'm sure you can see the ethical problem with that, just because this is someone who has already in your mind had a figure that you have wanted to obtain. So if you see that now this is a new thing she's doing to stay fit and stay trim, that you would want to do that as well. So like I said, this is aesthetics that they're promoting, and social media is flooded with, like I said, before and afters that make it seem safe and miraculous, and doctors are prescribing it and prescribing off-label to people who aren't diabetic and don't medically need this drug, because yes, it is a diabetic drug that people have just taken and realized that, oh, you lose a lot of weight from this. And it's like, yeah, that's anyway. But we've definitely gone from eat healthy and exercise to just inject yourself weekly and in record time with barely any public health discussions about the consequences. Like, there hasn't been a large outcry. So that's why I really want to make today's episode, because as someone who is promoting changing your body and, doing that in a what I would consider healthy way, it still can be considered by people changing and, trying to fit into societal standards. But at the core of it, you have to make certain changes, because what society actually wants you to do is probably a GLP-1 drug and, slim down really quickly, which is not the healthiest thing. The healthiest thing is really an overall lifestyle choice. But let's talk about this big pharma, because they're using exploitation of fat phobia, and they're using that for profit. And that's why I wanted to bring up specifically what I'm about and what they're about, because that could be, people often try to tie any shifts in your diet or shifts in your habits as, ties to fat phobia. And I wanted to, in my opinion, go ahead and remove that, because what we're doing, sweetie, is not the same. And I can say that because they didn't create the cure for obesity. They created a product to profit from the shame society already placed on fat bodies. So the same system that makes us sick with processed foods now sells us expensive drugs to fix what they broke. This is the medical industrial complex working exactly as it was designed. Creating the problem, sell the solution, and these companies are making billions by weaponizing people's insecurities and desperation to fit into narrow beauty standards. So next we'll talk about this being a major distraction from systemic health issues. So instead of addressing food deserts, the cost of healthy food, lack of time for working people to cook and exercise, sedentary jobs or stress at your job, and environmental toxins that's just making all of us sick in some sort of way, we're told, don't worry about that. Just inject yourself weekly and pay thousands of dollars. So this keeps the focus on individual solutions rather than the collective action that we have to look at in order to change the system that is purposely trying to make people unhealthy. And Big Pharma wants us to medicate these symptoms that we're getting from these problems that they're consistently feeding us through the food, the unhealthy food. They want us to, instead of, cutting them out, because that would mean messing up their money, they want us just to medicate those symptoms forever, those symptoms in ourselves forever, rather than addressing the root causes that would threaten these corporate profits at all. Don't look at that. Let's just focus on what I am presenting to you as a solution. So this is a very prominent class distraction here, a class element, and that is very insidious. These drugs cost $1,000 plus per month, and that's without insurance. So they're creating a visible marker between who can and who cannot afford to be thin, and letting you know insurance won't cover it, but the wealthy can pay out of pocket. And this depends on inequality, your body size and now signals economic status even more than before, which America is known to do with basically everything, whether that be bodies, teeth, like they are just finding new ways to do this basically and creating more body dysmorphia in our society as if it wasn't rampant before. But now your body size signals economic status and making poverty more visible and shame more potent, which is kind of crazy because I just hate the way this world is actually set up, because way long ago, if you were fat, actually you were a symbol of wealth. So it just ties into how body trends change and how basically we have to be very vigilant about our minds and being the people who think for ourselves and, doing what's best for ourselves and not letting the trends of the time. Because I think about all the time, the trends going on in China with, people injecting cement into their skulls. And it's, mind you, it's a medical cement, not the one that you're using for concrete. But still, it's all the same. They're doing it and, messing with their ears, their eyes, and, all of these surgeries upon surgeries and fillers and all of these things in order to fit into a trend, which trends come and trends go away. So, yeah, we definitely... China is very much feeling like they're speed running us to, or speed running their society. But yes, the rest of the world, as we can see in America, follows along. So here's the issue that we're talking about. The cultural messaging is that your natural body is a problem. So these ads tell you that struggling with weight means, from the way that they're phrasing it, is that you're broken and that you need pharmaceutical intervention. They erase the reality that different bodies are natural and healthy at different sizes, and the focus stays on just thin, as if thin means that you won't have any other health issues, which if we know that you're using these drugs, you're definitely not going to be that, because these drugs are normalizing a lifelong drug dependency. So GLP-1s require ongoing use. If you stop taking them, then essentially the weight comes back. So this is not a cure. It's basically just a subscription model for your body. And pharmaceutical companies want you dependent like this forever, paying monthly for the rest of your life. And we're actually being conditioned to accept that being on medication indefinitely is normal, rather than addressing why our bodies and food systems could be broken. So like I mentioned, this is something that they're going cultural wide. I won't say that I haven't, I just don't know of at this time. I'm not presently aware of the food struggles of other places. In fact, I know that a lot of the things that we have here in America, a lot of countries, the chemicals and things that they are allowed to put in our food, other companies don't play that. So that's a whole topic within itself. And basically the fact that they're erasing the reality, like I mentioned, that, natural bodies can be healthy at different sizes. And the focus is strictly on thin is healthy. And that's not scientifically accurate. And we're definitely moving further from body acceptance and closer to medical modification as the expected norm. So it's definitely given a brave new world energy, a population medicated into compliance and specific body standards, and obviously thinking patterns as well, and suffering masked by this pharmaceutical solution, rather than realizing that, these industries are inextricably tied to one another, even sometimes being ran by the other person, or, giving out what is essentially bribes. I can't even think of the legal term of what they call it, to people who are over the FDA or over these governments or whatever, basically giving out I can't think of the technical term of what they call the bribes that they're legally allowed to do to get these politicians to sway in their favor. But yeah, if you know that word, you can definitely leave it in the comments down below. But rather than addressing systematically the issues, corporations are controlling bodies through chemistry and mass advertising during our biggest cultural event, which, mind you, I don't watch the Super Bowl. Typically, the only thing I would be in alignment with would be the Super Bowl like halftime, and I didn't watch that. I can catch that on YouTube if I really wanted to. But yeah, I'm not a Bad Bunny fan at this point. I don't dislike him, but I just haven't gotten into his music. That's beside the point. The point is that this is literally the dystopian, I'm sure, that we have been warned about many times over at this point, and we're watching it happen in real time while it's being called healthcare. The Super Bowl timing was strategic psychological warfare. They chose the biggest advertising day of the year, when people are watching, eating, feeling guilty about what they're eating, feeling guilty about their bodies from the way the marketing is, pushed, because they didn't just use people who were thin and, had the beauty standard that you were wanting. They also use people who, mind you, they specifically use these little phrases like, oh, these celebrities are acting as patients. So not saying that they're even actually taking this drug, because they may know better than to not do it, but they could be. I can't say. But they also use those people with a certain type of bodies that you have seen for years, and maybe you admire them, maybe you think they're funny, maybe you think they're talented, maybe you just got the taglines of their songs talking about, we the best, whatever it is in your mind, and you already have that sort of affinity for that person because they're a celebrity. So like I said, feeling guilty about maybe having that same body type of the person who's on the commercial telling you that this drug is the cure for not, being like them anymore, or, being better than them, or being on the way with them to have, a different body. So also making this time in February, which is basically the New Year's resolutions that have failed or, fallen down a little bit, and that vulnerable messaging to people about transformation and how you need to change, and you need this in order to do the change, right? And it has to be a very quick one. And the juxtaposition of food commercials and weight loss drugs as an intentional thing to trigger that shame, and also offer that solution at the same time, and placing it during a sports event, which is tied to health, performance, and winning at all costs, things of that nature, when it's really all about profit. All of the things that I just mentioned, the sports, yes, the drugs, yes, all of that, it's all about profit. They actually don't care about you, whether you get the drug and, have these symptoms that they list out in a long, quick list at the end of the commercial, or put in a little tiny box that you can't really see at the bottom of the commercial. They just hope you focus on, the wrestling and whatever else. So we're definitely being conditioned to mistrust our own bodies. The messaging is that your body's natural signals of hunger, weight, size, all of these things, whatever that you may be feeling, even your own intentions for your body, are problems to be medicated away and put in the hands of another, rather than learning to nourish yourself. You're being taught to chemically override your own biology, which I think definitely is an attack on your gut microbiome, which is extremely important. And override this, which is creating a disconnection from self and your own your internal dependence that you have naturally on yourself, and instead relying on external authorities to tell you what is right. And it's basically just another way that capitalism separates us from bodily autonomy and sells it back to us as the end all be all. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure that you leave a comment, give me your thoughts, whether they, go along with what I'm saying. If you go against what I'm saying, that's also fine too. You can put that there. But thank you so much for watching, and peace until next time.